I don't know how to explain this, so I'll just say it straight. What you're about to hear, it isn't just a recording. It's alive. I found it hidden in an old folder on my brother's laptop. A Sonic gameplay video he never posted. At first, it looked normal. Sonic running through levels, collecting rings, the usual cheerful music. But the longer I watched, the more wrong it felt. There were pauses, glitches, shadows where none should be. And then the laughter started. Low. Distorted. Human almost. I don't know if I should have deleted it. I don't know if I should even share it. But one thing I know for certain, once you hear it, it doesn't stop following. I remember the exact moment I realized I shouldn't have opened the file. I was alone in my apartment late at night, the kind of night that hums with silence until something breaks it. The laptop belonged to my brother, who had passed away 2 months prior under circumstances that still make me shiver. He had been obsessed with old Sonic games, especially rare cartridges and recordings. Nobody knew why, least of all me. The file was labeled in plain text. Do not edit, just watch. Something about the wording unnerved me, but I didn't think much of it. I clicked. The video began with a normal Sonic stage, bright colors, fast-paced movement. The rings sparkled. The music was upbeat, familiar. I breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe it really was just a recording. A harmless file. Then I noticed something. Sonic's eyes weren't right. They flickered. Not in a glitchy, pixelated way, more like he was breathing. Alive. Watching me. I leaned closer. My heart sank. In the background, shadows stretched too long, bending in impossible angles. The music warped, slowed, then twisted into a hollow hum. The first whisper came from my headphones. Watch me. I yanked them off. Silence. But the feeling didn't go away. Something had changed. The apartment felt heavier, colder. I could hear faint scratching at the floorboards. My first thought was a rat, a mouse, anything ordinary. But this was deliberate, calculated, circling. On the screen, Sonic stopped running. He turned his head slowly toward the camera. Toward me. Not the programmed way sprites turn in the game, but unnaturally, fluidly, like something was inside the code moving him. I wanted to close the laptop. My fingers froze. My body felt paralyzed. And then the screen shimmered. Suddenly, the stage on the recording changed. The background darkened to black, the sky a sickly red. Rings twisted into screaming faces. Sonic stood still, but his grin stretched impossibly wide. And then I heard it again. Watch me. Not through the headphones. Not through the speakers. From behind me, I spun around. Empty apartment. The lights flickered. Shadows pooled unnaturally in corners. My breathing became loud, ragged. I tried to turn the laptop off. The power button wouldn't work. The screen flared violently, the image of the apartment reflected in the laptop, except the reflection wasn't right. My furniture was distorted. Shadows bent in ways that shouldn't exist. And standing in the reflection, right behind me, was Sonic. Not a sprite. Not pixels. Real. Or close enough that my mind screamed at me to believe it. His yellow eyes glowed. His grin widened as he leaned closer. The whispers became a chorus of distorted, childlike giggles. I bolted from the chair, nearly tripping over the coffee table. The laptop followed me. I swear it did. The screen shimmered, and suddenly the view in the recording matched my apartment. Every object in the video mirrored reality. Every shadow moved in sync with my terrified movements. I ran to the bedroom, slammed the door, locked it. My hands shook uncontrollably. I tried to rationalize. It's just a game. It's a glitch. Maybe stress. Maybe grief. But then I saw the scratches. Small, circular claw marks on the carpet. Blue smears across the floor. My stomach turned. I hadn't touched anything. I hadn't moved. The whispers didn't stop. I hid under the bed, covering my ears, but they penetrated anyway. Sonic appeared on the ceiling, crouching unnaturally, grinning. His eyes glinted yellow in the dim light. The laptop flared in the living room, showing my terrified face from multiple angles. I realized then he wasn't just in the recording. He had left it. I tried to scream. No sound came out. My body refused. I reached for my phone to call anyone. The screen displayed a single message. You can't leave. You belong to me now. I scrambled out from under the bed, but the apartment had changed. Hallways elongated, walls twisted. The shadows pooled around me like liquid, moving independently. Sonic glided across the warped floor, faster than possible, grinning. The whispers became voices chanting. Watch forever, play forever. I tripped and fell. The laptop slid across the floor toward me on its own. The screen flared again. Hundreds of distorted versions of me screamed silently from the reflection, trapped inside the code, trapped inside the apartment, trapped in the same nightmare that had begun as a simple recording. I blacked out. When I awoke, the sun was streaming through the blinds. My apartment looked normal. The laptop was off. The recording lay innocently on the desk. I told myself it had been a nightmare. Exhaustion. Grief. A hallucination. I tried to forget it, but the marks remained. Claw scratches in circles on the floor. Blue smears across the carpet. Objects subtly moved when I wasn't looking. And the whispers? They never stopped. Sometimes I hear them in my sleep. Sometimes when the apartment is silent. 3 knocks on the door. Slow. Methodical. Then, watch forever. I've tried burning the recording, throwing it away, hiding the laptop. Nothing works. Every night I wake to find it back on the desk, screen off, as if waiting. I've stopped trying to leave the apartment. The scratches, the whispers, the scratches on the walls, they follow me wherever I go. And I know it's only a matter of time before sonic.exe steps out of the recording completely. I'll see him fully, not just a shadow, not just a reflection, not just a flicker on a screen. He'll be in a room with me, watching, waiting, smiling that impossible grin. I don't know if anyone will believe this. Maybe no one should. But I'm leaving this account of events here, in case someone else finds a recording like mine. If you do, don't watch it. Don't play it. Don't let it look at you. Because once it watches you, it never stops. And sometimes, in the dead of night, I swear I hear it whisper right next to my ear. You should have edited me. I thought I had survived the recording. I thought that once I closed the laptop and avoided the cursed file, sonic.exe would stay trapped inside its pixelated prison. I was wrong. So painfully, horrifyingly wrong. It started innocuously enough. I was scrolling through old files on my computer, deleting duplicates, cleaning up what little of my brother's digital life I had inherited. I hadn't touched the cursed recording in weeks, trying desperately to convince myself it was a one-time nightmare, a hallucination born of grief and stress. But my computer had other plans. The cursor hovered over the file before I even realized it. Highlighted. Selected. My hand froze on the mouse. And then, impossibly, the file opened itself. Not a click. Not a glitch. It just started. At first, everything looked normal. Sonic running across a familiar stage, bright colors, cheerful music. Relief washed over me. Maybe this time, the recording was harmless. Maybe my mind had just tricked me last time. But I knew instantly, in the pit of my stomach, that I was wrong. Sonic's eyes were wrong. Hollow. Yellow. Grinning. And the background wasn't right. The bright, colorful landscape warped. Rings twisted into grotesque faces, screaming silently. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting toward me through the screen. Then came the whispers. Soft. Almost inaudible at first, but unmistakably there. Watch, watch, watch. Not through the speakers. Through my skull. Inside my head. I tried to close the laptop. The lid wouldn't move. I yanked at it with both hands. Nothing. The machine was locked in place, fused with the desk like some cursed relic. I stumbled back, heart hammering, and that's when I noticed it. My apartment wasn't normal anymore. Shadows pooled in the corners, darker than darkness should allow. The familiar layout had shifted. Walls stretched impossibly. Corners bent. The air was heavy, thick with static and the faint smell of ozone, like electricity before a storm. Sonic moved on the screen differently this time. Not running. Not idle. He stalked. His grin widened as he approached the camera. And then, the screen shimmered, and my reflection appeared behind him. But it wasn't quite me. Distorted. Pale. Eyes black. Mouth stretched in a silent scream. I screamed in terror. Not just at the screen, but at the shadows behind me. Something moved in them. Something humanoid, slithering, bending in ways that should have been impossible. And that's when I realized he wasn't just on the screen anymore. He had left the recording. I bolted from my chair, but the apartment had changed. The hallway stretched. The living room's ceiling dropped. Shadows flickered and danced, circling me in impossible directions. Sonic.exe glided across the warped floor, always just out of reach, grinning that impossible, stretching grin. His yellow eyes burned into my soul. I ran into the bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. My hands were shaking so violently, I could barely hold the doorknob. I ducked behind the bed, trying to catch my breath, trying to convince myself it was still just a recording, a hallucination. But then the scratches started. Soft at first. Claw marks scraping along the hardwood floor. Then more deliberate. Circling me, coming from every direction. The whispers rose into laughter. Sonic's voice, impossibly distorted. You can't leave, you can't hide. I tried to stand, to run, to escape. But the apartment itself was alive. The door vanished. The ceiling stretched. The floor cracked beneath me. Shadows pooled into shapes, tall and thin, moving independently of the walls. Sonic.exe glided past me faster than physics could allow, his grin wider than ever, yellow eyes blazing. The laptop's screen flared again. Hundreds of reflections of me appeared, trapped in the recording, trapped in the apartment, screaming silently. I realized then, the recording was endless, infinite. Every time I thought I escaped, it rewound, replayed, reshaped reality around me to trap me. I screamed. No sound came out. My voice was swallowed by the static in the air. My body refused to move. I tried to reach the laptop. It slid across the floor toward me on its own. The screen shimmered again. My apartment warped. Shadows bending. Sonic staring directly at me. He spoke again. Watch me forever. I blacked out. When I woke, sunlight filtered through the blinds. The apartment looked normal. The laptop was closed. The cursed file gone. I told myself it had been a nightmare. Exhaustion. Stress. Grief. A hallucination. But then I saw the scratches. Blue first smears across the floor. Circular claw marks. Objects slightly moved from where I left them. The whispers returned at night. Low, insidious, impossible to locate. Watch forever, play forever. I tried to burn the laptop. I tried to destroy the recording. Every time it returned. Every night, exactly as before. Sometimes on the desk. Sometimes on my bed. Always waiting. Watching. Smiling. I've lost track of how long it's been. Days? Weeks? Months? Time stretches differently here, warped by the recording, by Sonic.exe, by whatever lives inside that cursed file. And last night, I realized something worse. It wasn't just the recording. It wasn't just my apartment. It wasn't just me. The whispers followed me outside. Shadows twisted in the corner of my vision while walking down the street. Faint, flickering glimpses of Sonic.exe in passing reflections. He was in the world now, and there was nothing I could do to stop him. I've stopped sleeping. I've stopped leaving my apartment. The scratches, the whispers, the blue smears, they follow me wherever I go. I'm trapped in my own life, and I know what comes next. Eventually, the recording will fully manifest. Sonic.exe will step out of the screen entirely, and I'll see him, fully, and I will have nowhere to hide. If you ever find a recording like mine, an old Sonic gameplay file that seems off, do not watch it. Do not open it. Do not let it look at you. Because once it does, it never stops. It watches. It waits. It follows. And sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear it whisper right next to my ear. You should have edited me. I shouldn't have opened it again. I knew better. Every fiber of my being screamed to leave the cursed file alone. But humans are fools, especially when fear turns into obsession. I wanted to understand. I wanted to see what sonic.exe wanted. I wanted closure. It started the moment I moved the laptop into my bedroom. The old laptop, battered and scratched from my attempts to destroy it, sat on the nightstand, blinking faintly in the dim light. Rain pounded against the window outside. The apartment was silent, heavy with the weight of anticipation. My heart pounded so hard I thought the glass would shatter from it. I opened the file. The familiar Sonic stage appeared, bright and cheerful, rings glittering in impossible perfection. Relief surged through me. Maybe this time it would just be a recording. Maybe this time nothing would happen. I was wrong. The colors shifted subtly at first. The sky darkened. Shadows stretched along the edges of the stage. Sonic's sprite paused mid-run. His head tilted slightly, unnaturally. And then I noticed it, his eyes. Yellow. Hollow. Watching me, not the game. The first whisper came through the laptop speakers. Soft, but unmistakable. Watch closely. I froze. My hand hovered over the trackpad. My mind screamed at me to close the file, to throw the laptop out the window, to burn it. But curiosity rooted me to the spot. Then the stage glitched. Not in the usual corrupted way. The background, my familiar apartment, appeared inside the game. Every chair, every table, every shadow was replicated perfectly. And standing there, mirrored in the pixelated world, was me. Not moving. Not blinking. Just staring. I tried to turn off the laptop. The power button didn't respond. The screen shimmered violently, and I realized something horrifying. Sonic.exe was no longer confined to pixels. He was in my apartment. My reflection. My reality. I ran. The apartment shifted. Hallways elongated. Walls bent at impossible angles. The bedroom door vanished behind me, leaving only a blank wall where the frame should have been. Shadows moved independently of the light, coalescing into shapes. Tall, thin, humanoid, bending in ways no living thing should. And there he was. Sonic.exe, gliding across the warped floor, grinning impossibly wide, eyes burning yellow, closer than ever. The whispers multiplied. Not just Sonic's voice, but hundreds of layered, distorted echoes. Watch, play, belong. I stumbled backward, crashing into the nightstand. The laptop slid across the floor toward me on its own. The screen flared. Dozens of distorted versions of myself screamed silently, trapped inside the game, inside the apartment, inside a nightmare I couldn't escape. I blacked out. When I awoke, the apartment looked normal. Sunlight streamed through the blinds. The laptop was closed. The cursed file gone. My hands shook, my heart hammered, but everything seemed ordinary. I breathed heavily, telling myself it was over, that the recording hadn't followed me this time. I was wrong. The signs started subtly at first. Blue smudges on the floor. Objects slightly moved from where I left them. Shadows in corners, stretching unnaturally. A sense of being watched that never left. I tried ignoring it. I tried leaving the apartment for days at a time. It didn't matter. And then I found the frame. It was an old picture frame from my brother's room, a photo of us as kids at a carnival. But the image was wrong. Sonic.exe was standing in the background, grinning impossibly wide. Not in the original photo. Not in reality. And in the reflection of the glass, I saw myself, or a version of me, that wasn't quite me. Hollow eyes. Distorted mouth. And, behind that reflection, Sonic.exe, hovering, smiling. The whisper came from nowhere. You found me. I realized then that this was no longer just a recording. He had entered our reality. He could appear anywhere. Any reflection. Any shadow. Any screen. And the more I tried to ignore him, the stronger his presence became. I stopped leaving the apartment altogether. Nights became long, unbearable. The scratches, the blue smudges, the whispers, they multiplied. I began seeing fleeting glimpses of him in the corner of my eye, always watching. waiting, learning. And I knew that one day, he wouldn't just appear in reflections or shadows. He would step fully into my world. One evening, I thought I heard the faint hum of a game starting, even though the laptop was closed. The air grew heavy. The shadows lengthened. My reflection in the darkened TV glimmered strangely. And then, clear as day, I heard it. Frame finished watching. The TV flickered. And in the reflection, sonic.exe leaned forward, grinning. His yellow eyes pierced into mine. I realized with horror that I was seeing through his eyes as well. That the recording, the game, the shadows, they weren't just following me, they were inside me. I screamed. No sound came. My body refused. I tried to move. I couldn't. And then I saw it, a frame forming around me, like pixels or shadows coalescing. Slowly, methodically, a perfect rectangle. The edges glowed faintly blue. And inside the frame, I could see everything. My apartment. Myself. My life. But it wasn't real anymore. Not really. It was a representation. And in the corner of the frame, he waited. Grinning. Watching. Patient. I don't know how long I've been like this. Minutes? Hours? Days? I've lost track of time. The frame shifts slightly when I blink. Shadows move closer every time I breathe. And sometimes, when I stare at the edges, I see faint blue scratches forming in patterns I don't understand. I tried reaching for help. Phones don't work. Doors won't open. Lights won't turn on. The whispers never stop. And last night, I realized something worse. The frame isn't just around me. It's around everything I see. Every reflection. Every screen. Every window. And I know, with bone-deep certainty, that one day sonic.exe will step fully through it. And when he does, I won't exist outside of his view anymore. I don't know if anyone will ever see this. If anyone ever finds my account, my apartment, my life. But if you do, please, do not touch any recording, any file, any reflection that seems off. Because once he watches through a frame, it doesn't end. And sometimes, when I blink, I swear I can see the edges of the frame forming around you, too. I'm coming.